Hello everyone, you're joining me down on my allotment. My name's Kirsty and today we are going to be planting some giant pumpkin plants. Now I thought I'd show you how I plant out my pumpkin and squash plants. So even though I'm doing it for a giant plant, this can be for any of your plants, whether they're smaller varieties. Everything that I do you can do for those plants as well. Now it's the end of June and normally I probably would have planted these at the start of June. As you all know, I've been a little bit behind on my allotment, but what I'm going to do is just show you some of my top tips and tricks ready for planting any out that you haven't already planted out, or just for planting them next year, and then you've got something that you can refer to. So these are my giant pumpkin plants. These are in let's have a look. These are in 3.5 litre pots. I grow them from seed and they grow very quickly. As you can see here, they grow extremely quickly. I should have planted them out really last week, but I didn't have a chance, and I really wanted to just film what I do because I think it's important just to show you how to plant these out. I have grown some big pumpkins before and I absolutely love it. I'm hoping really from these plants I'm probably going to get some big pumpkins. I won't be getting giant ones because I'm just a bit too late in the season, but I'm going to show you what I do. So you're going to need a trowel. You're going to need an empty pot. You can use sort of whatever size you want. The bigger the better when you're planting with your giant pumpkins, because this is going to be what you use for watering. But these are the only ones I've got down here on the allotment. The rest of the pots I've already taken back to my house because I do all of my potting and sowing seeds at home. Okay, so you've got your giant pumpkin. What you're going to need to do is you are going to need to dig a big hole, and that hole will want to fit the whole of the pot in and more. Now I've dug this out quite deep, but as you can see, the rim of the pot is still up, but that's only because what I've done is added a layer of mulch to the bottom of the hole. And the reason I do that is because pumpkins and squash are very hungry and very thirsty plants. So you want to make sure that you concentrate on making sure that those plants are fed well and watered well. Now in order to do that, mulch is a very key point, and then these pots are a key point. So you've got your hole dug out, and then inside you've got some mulch, which I will show you a little glimpse of. Now the mulch I use is Rocket Grow mulch, which is a peat-free mulch. It's really rich, and it has it will slowly release feed for a couple of months, so that all goes in to the bottom of the hole. And then what I'm going to do is, next to this hole, to the other side, I'm going to dig another hole to fit in this pot. Now what will happen is, obviously you can see that this pot is nowhere near as deep as this hole, but when you put this right next to where the pumpkin plant's going to be, because all I'm going to do is just extend this hole here, right next to it. Just make sure you can see that properly. So the edge of the hole's here, so all I'm going to do, even though the ground is still quite hard, because if like me you've not had a lot of rain, I don't think any of us really have, so I'm just going to basically take out another chunk of the soil like that. Okay, so now you've got your hole for the pumpkin. So put a bit more mulch in that actually. You have your hole for the pumpkin, and then you've got this space like so that the pot is going to sit in. Now the reason I do this is because what you want is, when you water your pumpkins and squash, because they're really hungry and really thirsty, you want to make sure that all of that water is going directly to the roots, because you want that pumpkin to take up as much water as possible. What you don't want to do is water your pumpkins all around the edge of the pumpkins, because they become, you know, they get really, really big. So you're sort of watering around the edge of actually where, you know, the root system is, and it's warm because it's the summer, and actually a lot of that water is being evaporated off the surface and it's not actually getting to the plant. Whereas what you can do is have this directly into the hole of where the pumpkin's going, like so. Oh, I've got the hiccups. Just like that. And then obviously you're going to fill that in, and what will happen is you'll water into this pot and that will go directly straight to the roots. So what you can do is just water it until the pot fills up, and then let it drain, and then keep topping it up and just keep letting it drain. And then when you want to feed the pumpkin, you just do that directly into that that hole as well. So all of the water and all of the feed is, you know, is going to that plant. So I am going to show you like my little setup, and then I'm going to get the pumpkin plant planted in, and then I'm going to show you it being watered so you can see exactly what I mean. But this is what I do, and also I'm just going to show you a few more top tips of like how to plant your pumpkins in the direction that you want them to go in. So if we're looking from my view from the top, you know, we've got the hole that's big enough for the pumpkin to go in. You've got loads of mulch here, and obviously when you press the plant down, that will all squash down. And then you've got the pot right here, so when you pour the water in, all the water will go directly to where the root system is. And that's the sort of setup that I have. Okay, so when you get your plant, what you want to do is you want to decide which direction you want to grow your pumpkins in. Now, giant pumpkins and normal pumpkins, giant pumpkins more so, have really, really long vines that will search for places to anchor their roots from the vines into the soil to take up more water. So they don't just take water up from the root source. It's the same with any pumpkin and squash plant, but obviously these big ones really do take over. So you need to make sure that they are growing in a direction that they will be able to get past any kind of obstacles. I have this really long strip, this really long bed that I've shown you on a lot of my videos. So I'm going to grow my pumpkins down behind me. Now the way to figure out how to do that is to be looking at the leaves. So when your plant first grows, it sets off these first two leaves here, the first set of leaves that come up and go like that. Okay, the next leaf is the one that you want to think about. Now so obviously you've got your two like that, and then you'll get the next one will either go the opposite way from it. So here you've got your two leaves. Let me show you the two leaves here, and then this is the first true leaf. Now that's grown towards me, and you want to make sure that that leaf is pointing in the direction that you don't want the pumpkin to grow, because the pumpkin will grow in the opposite direction of that leaf. So here's the first two leaves that have come up like that, and the first true leaf has grown that way. So I want that pointing in the direction that it's not, that you don't want it to grow. And then the other leaf is going to be pointing in the direction that you want it to go, which is going to be behind me. So you've got your hole dug, you've got your plant pot in the hole as well, and you've figured out which direction your plant is going to grow, because that's obviously really important for spacing. For me, I have lots of space, and to be fair, I just let them grow wherever they want to, but obviously you don't want to be obstructing paths or anything that's kind of communal. So there is a path that runs along, even though I did actually have a pumpkin growing on it once. I shouldn't. So you figured that out. So obviously I want the pumpkin to grow towards me, so I've got that first true leaf sticking out the other way. So all I'm going to do is get this planted. Now if we look at the bottom, there are roots coming through, and when you're growing your pumpkins and squash, they grow really fast. So a great way of knowing if you need to pot on your pumpkins and squash is you know, most of the time we start them in smaller pots. Really, with pumpkins and squash, you could start them in a bigger pot. But if you like to pot on, just check the bottom, because with the pumpkin and squashes, you will see the roots coming through really quite quickly, and as soon as they are, you know you're sort of ready to pot on to the next size. These should have been potted out ages ago, planted out, sorry. But we know that Kirsty doesn't do everything on time. Now, I've taken the pot out, the plant out. Sorry, I didn't really show you how to do that. I'm probably teaching people to suck eggs, but I know actually there's people out there that don't always know some of the basics. So with a plant like this, I don't want to be pulling at the stem, because I don't want to break it. And because it's such a big plant, the best way for me to do it is to pop my hand on the soil, tip it upside down, and then take the pot off. You're then left with like the stem in between your finger and your thumb. You've got obviously it nice and stable. And because these grow incredible root systems, all the soil is held together. Look at that, beautiful. So all we're going to do is place that in the hole, remembering where the leaves are going. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is just gently press that down on top, and then I'm just going to fill in around the edges with the soil that I dug out from making the hole. First of all, anyway. So all the soil that I dug out from making the hole is by the side. The soil is pretty dry because it's been very dry and sunny, which is lovely. Great conditions for growing pumpkins. Not great conditions to be in greenhouses and polytunnels though, because I really need to go in and sort all of my tomatoes out, but it's absolutely bubbling in there. So all I'm going to do is just sprinkle the soil sort of round all these edges, just to keep everything secure. So I'm just going to go round and let it fall in the edges first, like that. And then all I'm going to do is like just go around those edges and push down that soil, just so it compacts and it's in there nice and firm. I'm going to put some more soil around. Like so. And then I'm just going to push down on the top of the plant a little bit more, push down on those sides, just to secure it in place. And then what I'm going to do, because this is, oh gosh, my knees. This is another sort of like top tip, is obviously we've got where we need so we can water, but mulch, obviously I put some in the bottom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mulch around the whole plant. We're put a nice thick layer. Obviously this helps feed the plant, because when there's any rain and it hits the mulch, it just helps seep any kind of nutrients through into the soil. But also the mulch is a great water retaining property, so you can use anything for mulch, but it helps retain the moisture in the soil. So when it does rain, all of that moisture stays underneath the soil. It's not evaporating out, and it's just a really great way of helping keeping like really thirsty, hungry plants like happy and healthy. Now, like I said, I use Rocket Grow mulch, which is amazing. I use it with everything. I do work closely with Rocket Grow, and I've been using their products for a couple of years now, and they're great. So I really recommend them, and obviously they're peat free, which is really important because we're all going peat free in 2024. So I'll often talk about Rocket Grow and the products because I use that in everything that I do. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a nice thick layer around the plant. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the camera closer and aim it down so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. I know you can't see my head. Hi. But as you can see, I'm putting a really nice thick layer of mulch all the way around the plant. So getting right into the stem and just slowly sort of like patting it down just to make this really nice mulch barrier. It also really helps deter the slugs as well. It stops them coming over and eating your plants. Not that they'd really be massively interested in a big established pumpkin plant, to be honest. You know, they're looking for fresh green shoots. But mulch is great because it creates this layer on top that dries and it becomes really, really crispy. So I did this with my runner beans and my French beans, and actually I've had no slug damage on them, which is pretty good because normally they get nibbled. Anyway, so as you can see, I'm going all around this and popping the mulch on, just sort of patting it down as we go, and creating this nice thick layer of mulch that's just going to help retain the moisture. Now I'm also going around the edge of, don't know if you can see the pot here as well, just to help keep that moisture underneath where the pot is too. So it will also just help slowly feed, so it's a really, really good idea. So I've got a bag of mulch here which will do lots of plants, but because these are my giant pumpkins and I want them to do well, I'm going to add extra to here for these because I love them. Right, okay, I think that's looking good. Let me bring it a bit closer. Sorry about my position, you can sort of see me filming, but if we just look again from my position above, you can see this really thick layer of mulch all the way around. You've got the two leaves that come through first, and then you've got the first true leaf here. That's pointed in the direction you don't want it to grow, so it's going to grow towards me. And then you've got your pot here for watering directly in and feeding in. That will go directly to the roots, and then you've got this really thick, sort of like good inch or so layer of gorgeous mulch, which will just help retain that moisture and help feed the plant. So there we go. That is how I plant my pumpkin and squash plants. So that's my giant pumpkin plant planted out. It has about 5 leaves and it will grow so quickly now. You'll probably find in the next couple of weeks it's doubled or tripled in size. So I'll be sure to show you the progress of the plant, how to help pollinate larger varieties of pumpkins. Sometimes they need a little bit of help, how I water it and feed it, and then hopefully the end product, which might be not a giant pumpkin, but a good sized pumpkin, hopefully. But yeah, it's got about 5 leaves, so remember it at this size, and then hopefully I'll show you it trailing in the next couple of weeks. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying my allotment channel here on YouTube. I would absolutely love for you to subscribe, to support me, even if it's just a like or a comment. I really, really appreciate it. Let me know what types of pumpkins and squash you're growing in your allotments and gardens, because I love them and I've got lots of varieties here that I'll be showing you over the next few months. Enjoy gardening, enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you all soon.